Hey, good afternoon everyone. I am Navneet and today I am going to explain one of the most important topics, that is friction. So before starting this topic, I hope every one of you might be well known with the term force. Great. So let's get started. So we are going to understand this topic with the help of an example, and this example will make our concepts very easy. So let us take a wooden table and let us keep this table on the ground surface. Now what we are going to do is we will push this table from one end of the table. Now what we are going to feel as soon as we start pushing this table, we'll feel that someone invisible is there who is opposing our force. Now what we did, we moved on the other side of the table and we again started pushing this table. Now this time also we felt the same thing, that someone is there on the opposite side who is opposing our force. So in this manner we kept on changing our positions and we kept on pushing the table from different points, and in each cases we felt the same thing happening, that someone is opposing our force. So this invisible force which is opposing the external force applied by us on the table is known as force of friction or frictional force. So now in the second scenario we thought that okay, we'll give one more try and we'll put our all the efforts on the table and we'll try to move this table. So this time what we did is we applied a greater magnitude of force on the table. We put all our efforts on the table, and this time luckily we succeeded in pushing the table. So now every one of you might be thinking, then what happened in the first case? Why we were not able to push the table in the first case? Why there was no motion on the table in the first case? So yeah, let me explain. In the first case, the force which we were applying on the table was getting nullified by the opposing force, that was frictional force. But in the second case, the force which we applied on the table was of greater magnitude and hence it was not nullified by the frictional force, and therefore it brought a relative motion between the table and the ground surface, and hence the table started sliding on the ground surface. So we can conclude two important facts from these two cases. The first one is that frictional force always acts in the opposite direction to the external applied force. And the second fact is that there will be relative motion between the two objects only if the external force is having greater magnitude than the frictional force. So now suppose I am changing the ground surface and I am keeping the same table on a slippery surface. Now can anyone tell me what would happen in this case if I change the surface? I put the same table on a slippery surface. Great. We will push this table with minimum effort. We can push this table with minimum efforts. That was correct. But I am going to explain the reason behind this. As soon as we put the same table on a slippery surface, the friction decreases. It means even though we are applying smaller amount of force on the table, we are finding it that we can push this table and bring the motion in the table very easily. So what we can conclude from here is that the force of friction or the frictional force depends on the type of surfaces which we are using, and one most important point is that the two objects or the two bodies must always be in contact with each other so that friction should be applied. So yeah, these were all the facts and points related to frictional force. So I hope everything is clear to everyone regarding friction. So yeah, thank you.